Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 16 millimeter film crew. I'm Cindy.
And I'm Dale.
You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and comment on our YouTube videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can listen to us everywhere podcasts are found at 16 millimeter film crew podcast. And you can visit us on our website at www.16millimeterfilmcrew.com. This week, we watched After the Hunt, directed by Luca Guadagnino. A college professor finds herself at a personal and professional crossroad when a star student levels an accusation against one of her colleagues, threatening to expose a dark secret from her own past. This movie stars Julia Roberts, Io Debris, Andrew Garfield, Michael Stuhlbarg, and Chloe Sevigny. Dale, what were your thoughts about this movie?
Hmm. I feel like we've seen I know you're a big fan of Luca's work, but I do, and for me, Luca's like very 50-50 for me. Like I like, me, I like stylistic stuff sometimes, so I enjoyed Challengers a lot. But I felt this lacking. We've seen a lot better movies in the last couple of years with this same substance. Particularly, we most recently saw Sorry Baby. Um, Tackling this very same subject matter in it's such a better way. Um, I feel like this is like, even though it's funny, I said I like style. This was like more flash in the pan-esque style intrigue in a way. It didn't really hold me weight. Like the reveal of what those pictures are. Like we see them like in the first 10 minutes of the movie where AO is looking at and finds the pictures. We have no idea what they're about. All we do is cut back to see um Julie Roberts' character burning stuff, looks at the picture, puts it on her wall. She's typing an article, looks at the picture, and until the end, we get the reveal. Like for that have been such a big thing in the beginning of the movie, and for not to really they really drew our attention with something like that, and then it didn't matter for like almost the whole movie. Like little things like that, stylistically, that I did not agree with at all.
I have a lot to say about this movie, so
Mhm.
I'll keep it brief for the brief section of this portion of the podcast. But I did not like this movie at all. I think I gave it a 1.5 star on Letterboxd. It's it's what's the word when it's like, let me not even say that. Okay. I think it's convoluted. I think it's
Hmm.
like pretentious in the worst way. Oh my
The
God.
worst way.
Watching this movie was really hard for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was like, how can there be so many people who I love? So
Hmm.
many actors who I just like, who I think are amazing, and they're in this movie, and I can't stand it. Like, I just can't. I can't do this. I physically was just like, I need this to be over. Please roll the credits. Every issue I have with Luca as a director, even though I really do think that he is a good director, I think that he's an interesting filmmaker. I like his movies for the most part, but there always were, even in my praise of his films, there were always critiques that
Hmm.
just like patterns that he would do in some of his films. And I think that all of his worst like instincts and patterns end up in this movie here. So like this was a tough one for me, but I'll get into it later. But that was, yeah, this was not good.
And I'm also wondering, Luca is Italian, and a lot of his influences are, the old classic Italian cinema, French New Wave, that kind of stuff. Whereas not even French New Wave, just old French films like Truffaut and stuff like that, where they're long, drawn out kind of things. Not that's not saying it's bad because I love some of those films too. And I'm wondering if stylistically, um, now that he's making movies for a more American audience, I wonder if he doesn't yet realize that cinematic style clashes with the target audience he's trying to market to now.
Hmm.
I'm wondering how big a factor that plays in him not fully committing. Like every director has a certain style, and his style is now like baked in for years. His first big American success was Call Me by Your Name, and like international hit. But I'm wondering if he's still, fighting that, that concept. Like my film, like I don't know. I'm trying to explain it, but I'm probably having a hard time explaining it. But I'm wondering if that's his overall stylistic issue.
So you're having so your thing is the style, like, what do you mean, like, how, like, the
I mean,
cinematography, the
the
editing, like,
pacing
the
of his
pacing?
films,
Okay.
the way his films are paced,
Mhm.
um, is I think it clashes with the modern, I mean modern, the American film style, how we view cinema and stuff like that. I'm wondering if that's also part of the issue we're having because we all like going once again over the substance over the style over substance thing. Like everybody love challengers, like because that's apex, style over substance kind of thing. And then he kind of acquiesces back to the norm for him, and it's kind of like mid-level reaction as far as critics and stuff like that.
Yeah. So my issue wasn't even like necessarily with the style of it in terms of like his signature, like how he makes his movies. I feel like I've always enjoyed that aspect of it. I think that
Mhm.
he's a really interesting storyteller. But I think in terms of the substance of it, that's kind of where I had issues, the most issues with it. And also, again, just like his having seen like I haven't seen all of his films, but I've seen most of them. And I can say that like he has these issues that he does. One is with the pacing, with the timing. These movies are always long. And after a while you have to ask like why? Like you have to ask why are certain scenes in this? Like could this scene have been removed? Could we have trimmed the fat here or there?
Mhm.
Or are you just like showing us stuff for like the sake of showing it? Like I feel like it needs to have some type of meaning, like if we're gonna put it on screen. And oftentimes for his movies, it sometimes seems like more atmospheric, like trying to build out the environment that the characters are taking place in. And I think that could work sometimes, but some other times I feel like once you've established it, then we can move on to the next thing. We don't have to keep kind of try to establish atmosphere and environment. Like I think we get like where we're at,
Mhm.
especially for American audiences. Like, or even if you like lived on the East Coast, like we understand like New England. Like we don't need like a whole bunch of different shots to show us something that is probably familiar to the places that we either grew up in or live in currently. Like it's a little too much. But beyond that, it's the trying to be ambiguous, but like that ambiguity not leading to
Falls flat,
anything.
yeah,
He does that every time.
yeah.
And that's an issue that I had in Challengers. It's an issue I had in Call Me by Your Name. It's an issue that I had in what was the movie that he had done before that?
The bones
I
and all.
Bones and All. It's like I understand that you don't want to spoon feed your message to anyone. Like I totally get that. And I think that's a smart thing to do. Show not
Mhm.
tell. Like that's the rule, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But I think your movie still has to have a point, especially when you're dealing with subjects like these. Like you kind of have to say what you need to say about like you have to to me it's like you need to have a position on where you fall and not just be like, okay, let's just say a bunch of things that sound like, one side or the other. Let's not actually say they did this in Alex Garland did that in Civil War, which pissed me off. Where it's like you can't talk about like serious subjects and then just be like, well, it's whatever you want to think about it. It's like,
yeah,
no, you need to have a position on how you feel about it because that's the point of view that we need to, like, as the audience members, we need to see the film through. We can still make our own judgments afterwards, like we can agree or disagree. That's always up to us once we walk out the theater, but you have to establish what that is, or
yeah.
else it's just going to be meandering and like pointless, which
It,
is kind of what this movie
this movie, yeah,
was.
it was. I feel like he attempted to create Julia Roberts' character of Alma as like a Tar-like figure, if you remember
Yes.
Tar.
Yes.
Um, and it falls flat because at least she like in that film, like she has a definite stance. you know where she is. She's not going to deviate from that at all. Where Julia Roberts' character is like really much like, and we talked the other day about, white allyship and kind of things.
Mhm, mhm.
And she kind of really wants to tote, both lines. And and the interaction between her and Ao's character at the end, I think surmises her character perfectly. Where, it's been 5 years, she's now dean, and we don't really know what happened with her and her husband post what she did, or if she revealed, her affair or stuff with Andrew Garfield's character that she was having at the time. We don't know any of that. But Ao is kind of like, oh, I didn't know if I liked you or wanted to be you. But then I realized I can't be you because you don't have any emotion. And she's like, "Oh, but I'm here now. I'm happy. I have success. Of course, I'm so happy." And Ao left. The last thing Ao says is like, "But are you really happy?" And walks off. Like that. Like her drive for power and stuff like that at the absence of actual joy. And I love how that's piggybacked throughout her character. Um, Mostly with her husband. Like the contrast into like she's very philosophical book knowledge, but she seems very reserved. Like she doesn't like is not expressive, whereas he's like psychologist. Like he's expressive, emotive. He's going through the house listening to music, that kind of thing. He's cooking. He wears his emotion on his sleeve, and I love how every interaction they always show him initiating contact and her like those lingering shots, like you said, show not tell. How he would always cut to him touching her. Like we always see the close up of his hand making contact with her. The only time we saw the opposite is when she's first told about Andrew Garfield assaulting Ao's character, where he puts his hands behind his back, and she doesn't really say what it is, but he knows something's wrong, and he goes, "Oh, follow me." He puts his hands behind his back, and she grabs onto his hand, and he leads her out, that kind of thing. They're always shown him initiating contact. He's the emotional one within that relationship, which I thought was a good thing to show. Like it's most directors don't show people's characteristics through their shots, but I thought that was well done when he did that though.
Yeah, there were good things in this movie. One, I will say the performances from most of the cast. I feel like
Phenomenal.
Julia Roberts, like always, is great. So like
Yeah.
that was great. Andrew Garfield, really good at towing the line of someone who's like evil, but who presents in a way that seems comforting and warm and whatever. So like I think they did a good job. He's fantastic anyways, but like he did a really good job at playing those different things. Michael Stuhlbarg as a husband, my favorite character in this, he was the thing that I was leaning on like the entire film. I was like, I'm sitting here still because he's in this movie. He made me so happy. Him just being like insane and crazy. Like, I don't know, just like playing the music and walking in and back and forth from the kitchen. Like, I just loved that. I thought that was so funny, but also like showed how like angry he was. And I don't know, there was so much there, but he's just like a very comforting presence in all the
Hmm.
movies that he plays. Um, Io is interesting to me. I think I'll get to that a little bit later. I'll get to that a little bit later. But overall, the performance is fantastic, and I like what they were trying to do because I had to like see what was actually going on here because I couldn't. This movie kind of turned me off, so I had to like listen to someone else talk about this film and kind of break it down for me to understand like what the messaging was. And basically, what I'm getting from it is basically like Julia Roberts' character of Alma is a person who grew up in a very different world than Io's character is growing up in
Hmm.
today. These women are both passionate, ambitious, like they want power, they want respect, whatever. So, but I think Julia Roberts she grew up in a place where it's like you don't need to be happy in order to get what you want. Like if you get what you want, like that is your happiness.
Yeah.
You personally feeling happy is not relevant. And I feel like you see that in her work and also in her marriage. Doesn't seem like she doesn't love Michael Stuhlbarg at all, but
No.
she is with him because I think he gives her whatever lifestyle she wants and he is constantly there for her.
Hmm.
So like sure, like that was the right choice for her. Where it's like women of a certain generation, they had to struggle and all this other stuff. So like their win is the fact that they get to have the career, the life that they want, that they aspire to. Personal feelings are not relevant, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas Io's generation, which is I guess my generation, our
Yeah.
generation, is like, no, like I want to be happy and I also want the stuff. Like it's very like I don't know, there's a saying that you can have it all but not at the same time. I feel like for Gen Z and for people like that, it's like, no, I want it all and I want it right now. And
Hmm.
so from her perspective, it's like, no, if something happened to me, I'm gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna internalize this just because it might affect my career and my life. Like
Hmm.
I'm gonna say what I have to say about this, and I want justice, and I want the recognition, and I want X, Y, and Z. So it's like it's a very and I think that's what kind of comes into conflict for both of those characters is like they want the same things, but how they are accomplishing those things are very different, and their perspective on these things are very different. Um, so I thought that that intergenerational uh I don't know thing
Schism
was
dynamic.
yeah, was
Yeah.
interesting. I thought
Yeah.
that was an interesting dynamic to explore. And I think that and I like morally gray characters. Like I like that Alma is kind of messed up. Like she's
Hmm.
not a good like she's not the person who she's trying to portray to other people that she is.
Hmm.
And as the movie goes on, the cracks start to appear and things start to go downhill for her. She still ends up on top because I think that was probably the truest part of the whole movie. It's like if you have certain kind of privileges, you will be fine. Um, but I think the problems that I have with it is we watched a show a while ago called Disclosure with
Hmm.
Kate Blanchett, where it was like uh, the way that they had told the story was like, oh, she had this affair on her husband, and now, years ago, and now it's 20 years later, and it's all coming back to get her. And so she deserves to have her life fall apart. Only later for it to be revealed that actually she was assaulted.
Hmm.
And so whatever your judgments were as an audience member, you're wrong because there
It's the
was this
actual truth. Yeah.
huge information that was not revealed to you that changes the whole entire story. And I really didn't like that. And I don't think anyone else did either, because it's a show that had Kate Blanchett in it. Alfonso Cuarón had directed all the episodes. That show went nowhere. Like, I don't think anyone saw it. It did not get nominated for any awards. And you would think like, oh, this show would be like a perfect thing for that, right? No, because I think when you're trying to tell stories like that, where you're like tricking people almost into like having a reaction to something without actually having all the information there, like really important information that you need in terms of your judgments of the character, I don't think people connect with that kind of stuff. And it felt like that's what they were trying to do here, where it's like, Io finds a picture in the bathroom. You don't know what it's about. And then at the end, all the way at the end, you find out, okay, this is what's been going on the entire time.
Yeah.
So, and then I kind of felt like they were trying to play with whether she was telling the truth or not about the assault because certain things had happened, like she was cheating on her exams and stuff, and what. So they tried to like muddy the water in terms of like how you felt about her and whether or not that meant that you believed if the assault had actually taken place or not, which I didn't like because I even feel like the insinuation that a victim is lying about something like that is wrong. I don't think
Hmm.
that you should even try to play it. Again, that's how I felt about the other show. Don't try to play around with stuff like that. Like, because victims have a hard enough time even telling anyone what's going on when they get assaulted. You trying to muddy the water right now, that's not a good look. I don't think that that's the right thing to do. It happened, but okay, whatever. I guess they chose to do that. But I also feel like for complex characters, like when I think about Tar, like you mentioned, or a movie like Anatomy of a Fall, where you're not sure like whether she did it or not,
Hmm.
I think that that can be very compelling. I feel like that's really interesting because it kind of plays with how your perspective
Perception of the characters.
and your own preconceived notions of
Yeah.
like your of how you think about these things in general. I think that can be really interesting. I think in this setting though, it didn't really land for me because what I ended up feeling for Julia Roberts' character is not much.
Yeah.
I feel like there's an investment piece that you have to have with the character. and she was such a guarded character that it was hard to, like it was hard to
Get a
get
read.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
hard to get anything from her. So, I can't feel any kind of way about it, about the ambiguity, about the gray areas of her life because I don't even know who she is.
All we essentially know is that, well, that goes back to who she is as a character, but doesn't really make me want to engage with it, particularly the fact that she's the main character for majority of the film.
Right,
Like
that's the
I
thing.
don't know anything about this character. How am I supposed to feel about her? And it's not till the end we go, oh, she's just about power. Like when she says, oh, she lied about her father's coworker or friend assaulting her. She said, oh, I just wanted to make him feel the way I did. I wanted to get something out of her. And oh, that's been her pattern. She just so. And then I also find the relationship between all three of them really odd because if Andrew Garfield's character initially is so perturbed about her, cheating on her paper, like they do a real 180 on Margaret Ayo's character, like really suddenly, because yes, sure, in the beginning they're talking about their question, they're talking about her essay and stuff like that, and they're all at the house and they're talking about philosophy and stuff like that, and the three of them are just bouncing back and forth, you know. But when they talk about her, they always say, "Oh, she's a good student, full of talent, all the moxie." She refers to her as her protege, whatever. Even her husband says the same thing, like, "Oh, we miss having you over because you're usually here all the time." Blah blah blah. It's clear that she had a relationship, a good relationship, as a student to her mentors. I remember in college, I had an amazing relationship with my professors where I could talk about certain stuff. So it's kind of weird, like the sudden 180 it took. Like, okay, you praised her as a good student the whole time, but then oh, she plagiarized part of her essay. You can't approach her on that. Like that one instance certainly goes, oh, you're a bad character, you're a bad person, you just want to get by because your parents have money. Like, hold on, you called her your protege. Like, what's this sudden character shift only because she's insinuating that a fellow professor that you were having an affair with your husband that you admitted you loved, she's making claims that she he assaulted her, but then when you go and meet that same guy who is hiding in your other apartment, which how did your husband not know you had a whole separate apartment hidden away? Like
Right.
you're paying rent in another apartment, you know. You say, oh, you responded by saying you do those kind of things with all your female students. So I'm like, where are you going with her character? Like, Margaret is one of her favorite students, but you can't approach her about cheating. But you're also aware of your fellow professor who you have an affair with is also known for making advances to female students. Like, what are you doing with this, Luca? Like, that's like really broad strokes you're trying to create that really like aren't cohesive at all. You know.
Yeah. Let's talk about Margaret. Let's talk about Io
Hmm.
because that's a huge issue that I had in this movie. Not with her particular. I think Io as a dramatic actress, it's not really hitting for me personally. I'm not really maybe if it was a different movie, but you're in a movie with Andrew Garfield and Julia Roberts, it's gonna show if you're not kind of on that same level.
Yeah.
As a comedic actress, I think she's fantastic. As a human being, I love her. I love that she is in public life. It makes me so hopeful and happy. But like in this movie, the acting wasn't there. The performance wasn't there for me with this one. Either way, the part of Margaret is a part that simply just does not exist in real life for Black people. I don't understand this scenario where this young Black girl has exceedingly rich parents who have donated half of the campus of Yale, and is like, who? What? What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
who who alleges that her professor sexually assaulted her and still ends up with a great career? Like, what magical person are we pretending this is? This is a person who does not exist in real life. And that was a huge problem for me because I'm
Yeah.
like, you can't this movie is supposed to be grounded in realism. So like you can't even there's no excuse of like whatever else. Like I don't understand this character fundamentally.
Hmm.
And I think I think her wealth, like her family's wealth, and the privilege that she has being in a certain class somehow overrides her being black. And I don't,
Hmm.
and it's like, that's not real.
Yeah.
That simply isn't real. So that was, and that's hard because that's a huge part of the film. It's the reason why Julia Roberts does not confront her about her plagiarized paper, because
Hmm.
she knows that the parents got money. So if she does anything to this kid, that's why she takes her under her wing. That's why she makes her feel all special, because her parents donate to this prestigious university. Like, I can't, unless she was adopted or something, but even still, that only goes so far. Like, it's just one thing I was watching by FP Signifier was when he was talking about like woke cast, not woke casting, sorry. What's the word that he used? Damn it. I can't remember. But it's like when you try to switch races of characters into stories that like were not intended, like they weren't written for a character that was supposed to be black, but you
Hmm.
kind of just change it because you
Hmm.
want the casting to be more diverse or something like that. That's what he was talking about this in reference to One Battle After Another, right? But I think that applies here where it's like, I don't know if this, it doesn't seem like this character was written for a black person, but they wanted black people in the movie, so they cast Io in this. But unfortunately, that messes up with the how the character was probably written, where it's like you have this young person who is not a who's a mediocre student who is the only in this position because of her parents' financial status
Yeah.
and the fact that they have donated to this university, and who is, spouting off all these words like triggered and, all of the Gen Z therapist lingo, who is making these provocations about, being a black woman in an Ivy League school and whatever. Is dating a, I think, non-binary
Hmm.
person, and that's a huge part of her identity. Like, there's stuff there about that, but like, I'm sorry, I cannot understand the character because however the character is written, it influences the entire story.
Yeah.
So like, you're telling me that this black girl was able to do all of that. Like, she was able to talk about the assault, get a profile in Rolling Stone, was able to like have a career, a great career after that, after all the stuff blew up, smacked a teacher in the face and was still able to go to school. Like,
Yeah.
first of all, black people don't get opportunities like this.
No.
Hi, they're erasing DEI. So like, even in the setting where this movie takes place, which is in 2019, you didn't have a whole bunch of black people going to Yale. Like, that
Yeah.
wasn't a huge thing. Like, you had us, and if they were there, they were probably there because of affirmative action. Like, you know what I'm saying, which is fine. But you know what I'm saying. Like, if they were in a situation like this, 9 times out of 10, they're probably not going to tell anyone because it could affect their academic careers.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
And that's
So
the
how does
thing.
that, and this, you know what I'm saying? So it's like the her have is just this for black women especially, you're not getting chances like this.
Hmm.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I can't rationalize anything that happens in the movie really, because it's like, well, who is this person supposed to be?
Yeah, I think that was something redone with, like I said, with the casting. Like they hired AO. AO did a wonderful job, so they're like, well, and honestly, and I should correct myself. When all our critiques of the writing are not held onto Luca, although Luca also produces movies, so he does know what movies he's about to direct. The writer for this was Nora Garrett, most likely,
Mhm.
and this is her only writing feature, like her biggest writer. So odds are this script was featured on the blacklist, and everybody in Hollywood loved it because it was topical Me Too movement. Everybody for a time was doing were all doing Me Too movies. Um, I feel like the change with it's clear Io's character is written as a white woman
Right.
is very clear. But with the casting of a black woman, and this when you mentioned diversity, this is why diversity in front of the camera and behind the camera is important. Because if you're casting with Io, you have to understand, okay, the implications. All right, you all want this to be as realistic as possible. There's no way in hell a black person, unless you're Oprah, is going to be able to donate for half the shit on Yale's campus. That's
Mhm.
impossible.
Mhm.
Two, you need to also, if you're gonna mention everything featured here, you've covered the generation divide between, boomers, Gen X, millennials, with Julia, Andrew, and Ao's character, and how they respond to this. You've talked about how men view this subject, how women do these subject, how women in power kind of acquiesce and go, no, I don't want to rock the boat. How younger women without power want to go, power be damned, this is wrong, wrong is wrong. um you have to kind of acknowledge how the difficulties it is for black women in these situations. Like, her blackness is inherent to the situation, you
Right.
know like you said. Black women are gonna I'm going to calculate the pros and cons, like how much this will affect me, like you mentioned, like a black woman exposing this kind of stuff is not going to get a profile in Rolling Stone.
Right.
It's gonna take her a lot of work. Like, instantaneously after AO made the claim, man was fired. You know, that doesn't happen for us. Like,
Right.
it takes a while. It has to, like, honestly, and we wouldn't even see justice in the school. We'd have to go out, seek outside justice, and it would be a long time. We're not getting profiles or so, and all that stuff. So I feel like that's a disservice. I understand casting the best talent that you could find for it, but if you're gonna, like, this particular, like, I'm a proponent of, if your race is not inherent to the character, that's fine. But in this case, in this subject matter, race plays a key major part of the story. Um, yeah, and I feel like certain parts of the movie were a bunch about checking boxes. Like, and even Julia Roberts' character kind of hints at this movie's, some of it's about checking boxes, because when she lays into AO before she gets smacked, she's like, "Oh, you don't have much. You're this rich girl who kind of skates by." Like, after praising her, saying she's my favorite student, I love her work, you know, to everybody, she goes, "Oh, you're slumming it," which, oh, every single college story that has come out in the last 20 years, they always say the rich kid is slumming it. You know, rich kids don't slum it. Let's be honest. We know some rich kids. They don't slum it at all. Um, you're slumming it. Oh, you're just dating this, diverse person, whether race, gendered identity, their radical views, just to feel something. Like, and she kind of exposes the fact, like, oh, we're kind of check all these diversity boxes based on one character in her relationship, to skate by.
Yeah, and it's just it's frustrating because like Black people who get to be in those positions, who have the opportunity to get that kind of education, like, they're not no mediocre student. They're probably working harder than anybody else in that
Anybody,
school,
yeah,
like, just to get there.
yeah.
So what I think they could have done is done some tweaking to the script where she is in Yale but she's not like some rich like trust fund baby. Like she is like probably there on scholarship, like working really hard and then gets assaulted. And then there's still
I
good
mean,
commentary in that
you probably
because
could
her
have you probably could have made her rich, though, but not donate to half of Yale's campus rich. You know what I'm
that's what
saying?
they made
Yeah.
that's what they made her like
Yeah,
that's
I
what I'm
mean,
saying.
because
Like,
there are plenty of black millionaires and their kids and stuff like that. So
sure.
you
Yeah,
could have went
sure.
that way, but unrealistic, saying, "Oh, she's like, her name is on the building," there's a
Yeah.
scholarship named after her family. Like, that's a stretch. That is a leap. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess anyway, it's sliced. Like whether she was like a child of a millionaire or just like a regular kid who was just like who had, who had the opportunity to go to Yale or whatever. I guess it wouldn't have mattered. The thing is like the what the money does is it affords her the privilege to continue to like have a second chance basically.
Yeah.
Like she's able to recover from this very traumatic experience and keep going. And that's like an idealistic version of like life. Like yeah, I think that would be great if that happened in real in real life, but
Yeah.
like it
Let's
doesn't.
be honest, it doesn't
And
happen.
and the money doesn't really protect you from that either most of the time. But I think that like the amount of rich that she's supposed to be, where she got all these teachers like trying to like be cozy to her and treat her all special and whatever. Like I've never seen such a person. So I guess I'm
Hmm.
just confused. I'm confused on the character. And also just how they talk about young people in general and how they position young people. It very much feels like y'all are so annoying because y'all just want to talk about all of these issues. You just want to talk about your feelings and
Which is
whatever.
weird from Andrew Garfield's character, because even if you want to eschew that, like he's Andrew Garfield's not Gen X as well. He's Gen X and millennials largely, and some of Alpha have predominantly a lot of the same views. So his
Yeah.
his tirade at the initial when they're at the initial get together at the house made no sense,
Yeah,
honestly.
and also him breaking out into poetry as he's getting fired. Like, who decided to put that in? That was
Yeah,
so cringy. Oh my God, I wanted to
yeah,
die.
yeah.
But it kind of feels like they were sort of making fun of them or making it seem like, oh, they're so annoying because they're like not, they're talking about, their feelings all the time. And I feel like, yes, like that is what happens when you're young. You learn new things and that kind of becomes your whole personality. But
Hmm.
like as you get older, your understanding of the world becomes more complex. But I don't feel like it's something that we should be like dogging young people for. Like the way that older people write young people, whether it's in like shows or whatever, like it always feels like they're like pointing fun at the fact that like young people are passionate and they're just learning about this stuff from like an older person's perspective because they already have like most of the context. But like if you don't have all the context and you don't have all the experience, yeah, that your personality is gonna be a little bit supercharged. And I don't think that's like a bad thing. I feel like and I think it's also sort of like invalidating people's feelings because as an older person, maybe you've learned how to deal with certain things. But like, I don't know. I just didn't like how young people were portrayed in this movie either. Um, but overall, I think when I look back at Luca's movies, there is always this issue of how to like complete a story. Because there's always the ambiguity thing that I think he really likes. But I just feel like every time I watch his films, whether and it's in Challengers too, it's like in everything. It's like everything he does. It's like trying to like not uh, trying to have complex characters who do morally reprehensible things but also do things that kind of make you laugh. So maybe you don't think that badly of them, but then not kind of landing on any final decision about the stuff that you're bringing up. It really doesn't work here. And it's a problem that I've had with his movies for a while now, and I really don't know if he's gonna get the message to stop doing that. But because like he's doing a movie about uh he didn't do crypto. What did he do? No, he did. Sam Altman.
Hmm.
He's doing a movie about that.
AI Sam Altman, yeah.
Yeah, he's doing a movie about he's doing a new version of American Psycho. Like, I don't know. I just feel like if you're gonna I don't I think there's probably a way to do ambiguity. The movies that we talked about earlier, those are good examples of like how to do it correctly. But I think that for him doing this kind of bloated like over explain, like very, very pretentious, like really shoving the fact that these kids go to Yale, like, and these teachers are professors and are like very smart, whatever. To me, it's just like it was distancing. Like it was hard to relate to anyone. I think that was hard for me. And so it makes the ambiguity piece more difficult to accept because it's like I'm not even rooting for anyone for real. Like
Yeah.
I want Io's character to get justice for like herself, but then, like, once it does happen, like, he loses his job, he's in a really bad place, obviously. So, like, once that's over, the movie kinda just I don't know, it's like a very long train ride to nowhere,
Hmm.
and without characters who I really am invested in, to it's difficult to care about the whatever message they're even trying to send. Like, there's good stuff in there, but it doesn't the conclusion is kind of
Muddied.
missed.
Yeah.
So I did not like this one. I'm
No,
gonna be so honest.
I did not like it. I do
As a Luca
think,
fan, mm-mm.
yeah, I do think AO does have the talent for dramatic work. Like she's what, and like I've always said, I think comedic actors are probably the most well-rounded performers we have in the industry because they can do a wide range of work. I do feel like, yeah, Ayo did a wonderful job. Andrew, Julia, well, all the actors did a wonderful job of what they were given. It's just, yeah, Luca's joy of trying to be ambiguous without really fleshing out both sides of the ambiguity. He does like very bare bones stuff. And also, yes, I understand that this is Nora Garnett's like first big project. Like I said, this movie was on the blacklist, but there are so many issues I have with the writing, which,
Mhm. Mhm.
this um like this movie was announced what 2024, so it was production for a while. Um should have been massaged out. If this was the final draft of what we got, ooh, oh man. Um So yeah, and it's not a shot on her first project. Look, I always say whenever a writer can get their first project and it be a major like theatrical release, props to them. But it's clear that there's pacing issues with her writing, and also waxing poetic and not really fully. And it's weird because once again, I can kind of see why the picture focuses more on Julie Roberts' character because not a knock, but once again, Nora is also a white woman as well, so her lens is kindly focused in an area. She's not like the issues we have with Ao's character being billionaire black who's been donating Yale for generations, whose name is in a scholarship, and not understanding why also the focus on her not wanting to the issue of being assaulted, the black aspect of it is also not featured. That's once again a blind spot that white women have. They're not going to be able to dissect those issues properly, and that's also probably why they're able to wax philosophically with philosophy, talking about, oh, all these guys are bad, but look how much it helps society, kind of thing, and kind of accept it. And I will be surprised. The bright spot for me, low key, was Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Mhm.
Surprisingly, this film features a lot of orchestral compositions for the score, and usually those two love their techno and their EDM. But I was like, wow, this is an unexpected unexpected score. It was really subdued. Like I found the funniest thing in it, which was weird. I don't know why it was picked. Is whenever Julia's sick or she throws up or she just crumples up, they have like like the sad trombone from 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 cartoons. For
Mhm.
some reason that always plays. But other than that, yeah, the sound, like the score, amazing. Performance is amazing. Some of the directorial decisions Luca made and the issues I have with writing, like I can see why this movie is not getting the reception. And it once again, standing ovations at Cannes mean nothing. This movie was also budget of what 153 million. It's only made 5 million so far. So yeah,
Yeah. I will say 2 more things and then I'm done. 1, I feel like there were certain things with, Julia Roberts' character that were I didn't understand her being sick part because they didn't explain until the end. So I
yeah.
was wondering, like, why are we seeing this? Like, what is wrong with this woman? But, it's like the internal manifestations of, like, her trauma is, like, eating her alive as she's dealing with this, like, situation that's very similar to what she not similar because I guess she lied about it, but and again, the victim's lying about sexual assault. I hate that. Stop doing that. Seriously, it pisses me off. Okay. The other thing is like one of the truest things about this is like thinking, and it's not a knock on like every white woman, but I do think that there is something in maybe it's like not recognizing your privilege where like you can think that you have this relationship or trust or whatever with someone who is of a different race than you, like, who's Caucasian and a woman, and as a
Hmm.
black woman maybe there is like there's tension there because like at the end of the day it's if I guess if it's them or you kind of know how that's going to play out.
Yeah.
um Last thing, I don't wanna make it seem like I don't think Io is a good actor.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying, or I'm saying that, like, if you come from comedy, you can't do drama because I definitely don't feel that way. I feel like
Yeah.
some of our best actors came from comedy. I'm saying, I guess
This movie.
this movie, because I don't know how much dramatic stuff that she's done before this. I'm
The
trying to think of
bear.
her. Is it bear drama?
Yeah, but it's more so drama now. Like the thing is, Luca cast her in this movie after seeing her in Bottoms.
Yeah. So I guess he didn't see. I guess he didn't watch the bear. Um,
So,
what I'll say, because I feel this way, the same way I feel about Zendaya too, is that like sometimes it's better to do less.
mm,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
I think sometimes in the effort to like put across strong emotions, they do a lot physically with their bodies, with their facial expressions to show that they're like, they're having these internal conflicts or they're trying to display this emotion over. And I think sometimes it's better to like not show as much. Like Julia Roberts, there was that switch when they're having the conversation in the hallway where she tells her that or I told her that she's been assaulted, and the switch that she has from like being like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" to "Why are you telling me that?"
yeah,
Very, very subtle, but you can feel it. Like you can feel what that switch is, and you can say, "Okay, wait, hold on. Why is she like being weird about this?"
yeah,
That's all I'm saying. I'm saying like their subtlety is actually really good. That's all I'm and I think maybe you just have to like continue to do like these films and like have this type of challenges. I think she's gonna do theater with Don Cheadle soon. I think that'll be a great like space to like learn
mm,
more. Like I don't think that she's incapable of doing it. I'm just saying like in this movie it was a lot. And maybe she was like playing up the being young and being, defiant. Maybe she was playing that up a little bit. I'm not sure. Either way, I love Io and Debris. That's kind of my I just want to put that out there because I didn't want to be anyone to be like, you don't like her acting. Like, no, I think she's great. I just want to
yeah,
clarify that. Okay.
yeah. And also, like, I like how the minute she framed her major difficulty of it was her having stomach ulcers the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I like the use of stomach ulcers in this is kind of like a smoking gun in a way because you only get some ulcers from stress, drinking too much, or smoking. She still goes drinking with Andrew Garfield's character, and her stomach ulcers flare because she's in a high stress situation. But if we're not don't know what she has, we can't pick up on those things because all
Mm-hmm.
she said was like, "Oh, well, my leave for my health difficulties," and I'm thinking shit chick had cancer or something.
Right.
No,
Because like what are we supposed to think?
no, you could has been having stomach ulcers because you stressed out because you doing a whole bunch of bullshit. But yeah, that's my tangent on that. Um, so
Anyway.
yeah, moving on to box office stuff and then the rest of the news. So anime wins again for all of us, nerds and people who love anime. Once again, we just saw the same hit with Demon Slayer Attack on Titan before it. The main movie in box office this weekend is the Chainsaw Man movie, the Resi arc. It basically follows basically the arc of it would be episode 13 of the anime so far. But yeah, trending like I'm loving the success of anime in theaters now. Before they'd only show like a couple for like one day, but now they're doing full theatrical runs for like a month. But I hope this also shows Hollywood, like Western media, that animation is not just Disney. It does not just have to be for kids. Like Demon Slayer is like really violent, really, slightly erotic, off tangential, all encompassing. I hope this goes on to show that, hey, animation does not just have to be from kids. You can make adult themed animation and still make money. I hope this lights a fire within Hollywood because these movies have been outpacing the last two or three Disney projects that has been coming out, you know?
Hmm.
And so, yeah, but they won't be up for any Oscars because, Disney runs that show, so they won't be up there for best animated feature of years, but and of course, we also so yeah, not just Demon Slayer, but also K-pop Demon Hunters. So yeah, anime is taking over Hollywood for right now.
Okay, in other news, Tyler Sheridan is leaving Paramount. David Glasser's 101 Studios, which produces all of Sheridan's shows, is also heading to Universal as a part of the deal. So Sheridan's shows Yellowstone, Tulsa King, Lioness, and Landman consistently dominate Nielsen charts and basically keep Paramount Plus afloat. His exit means Paramount loses its most reliable hitmaker, though they'll keep all of his existing franchises. Looking ahead, Sheridan moves to NBCU for film next year when his Paramount commitment expires, but the TV deal is a big one. He'll keep making shows for Paramount through 2028 before jumping to NBCU. I did not
Yeah,
know that this man did Lioness.
yeah,
That's yeah. I feel like my
yeah.
sister talks about that show all the time.
A lot of characters or a lot of actors from his shows kind of cross intersect with his. It's kind of like the cowboy version of the Shondaverse in a way.
Okay.
Tyler has reinvigorated the cowboy mythos in American media, which also coincides with a lot of other tangential problems related to that perception of white males. But anyway, so yeah, um, and I honestly was not aware of him doing all that. I've seen Tulsa King, I've seen Lion, I've seen Landman. My only knowledge of him was Yellowstone and the tangential movies within that world. So that's pretty much big deal. Um, on that note, indie studios are trying to become lifestyle brands. Of course, we've all heard the phrase, that's an A24 style film. It's a part of our lexicon, like those kind of. It's like post-it notes or sticky note, or Kleenex is a tissue note. An indie project is now A24 picture. So Focus Pictures, A24, and Neon, they also don't want to sell movies anymore. They're also pivoting to more experimental marketing. They want to do festivals, merch drops, Instagram activations. And they're betting that audiences will pay premium prices not just to watch their films, but buy into their brands themselves, which I see it happening. I think Focus, like those three studios, are the main films I think a lot of our generation predominantly watch. Like we've more acquiesced away from, of course, your MGMs, like bought by Amazon, your Paramounts, your stuff like that. We're more like, oh, you hear A24 got a new project out, and Focus Pictures and Neon also have their own slew of directors they are contracted with. Like A24 is always going to do something with the Safdie brothers. Like, oh, you want to see the new Safdie brothers movie? It's going to be A24. So I'm not surprised they'd want to pivot more into being lifestyle brands, and I think it makes sense to them because a lot of the old production studios have pivoted to like, remember they started out as TV channels, so they always had that aspect along. You're gonna watch this on at home, you're gonna watch it on theater, so they'll also branding out and reaching into other avenues. I think is a good bet for them, and I'll be down to rock some A20 more for merch like we've seen like in a lot of Asian countries, like brands like Kodak and even National Geographic have merch that are high end fashion brands that people wear. So A24 drop a fire jacket, I will cop that thing, and I will rock that thing. So yeah.
Yeah, it says here that they have like all these different experiences. Like they
Hmm.
had a Pride and Prejudice ball.
Yeah.
And Enora, when that was coming out, they had like pop-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's like it totally makes sense to me that this is like this is happening. But it's also just like I don't know, some of the stuff is kind of
Kind of
ridiculous. Like
ridiculous. It's they're doing like
go
wholesale. Remember the branding and promotion for Barbie?
mhm.
Like they're doing that for the studios, not just the projects.
And honestly, I get it because it's like right now, I think the post-COVID kind of
Mm,
theater, like getting people to go to the movies, it's like a whole production. Like you got to do all the stuff. I think that Jesse Eisenberg was doing some magic tricks in New York City to promote Now You See Me 3. Like the
mm,
stunts are becoming like more and more like
necessary.
necessary in order to like actually make your budget back plus more. But like if you go on A24's website, that stuff is so expensive and overpriced. Like this is they're saying they have a 99 annual membership program. Like, what? It
If I,
costs me less money to go see one of the Safdie brothers films. Like, why would I pay this money just to get what, an early release? Stop playing games with me. But there are people who will do that because they're obsessed with the brand. Like, they're obsessed with Criterion closets. They're obsessed with all of that stuff. And I get it too. If I had like the disposable income to just like
yes,
buy stuff, sure. But like, I don't know if it's necessarily like realistic. But hey,
yeah,
for everyone. But whatever. Anyways, moving on. So writers say that Warner Brothers sale would be a disaster. The Writers Guild of America is vowing to work with regulators to block Warner Brothers Discovery's potential sales to Paramount Skydance, arguing that the combining Warner Brothers with another major studio would harm workers, diminish competition and free speech, and waste billions better invested in organic growth. The Guild says that mega mergers have consistently led to anti competitive practices, massive layoffs, and billions in canceled projects as debt burned companies slash costs to justify their deals. 3 years after its own $43 billion merger created the current Warner Brothers Discovery, the company's officially for sale. And this week they're asking bidders to sign NDAs to see the books, having already turned down three separate offers from Paramount.
yeah,
I think this is great that the writers are like talking about how dangerous this is because like I think when Warner Brothers merged with Discovery, there were a bunch of movies that were like supposed to come out that they got rid of. They got rid of the television movies for like HBO Max and stuff like that. Like they just scrapped all that stuff.
yeah.
And I'm sure so many people got laid off during that merger. Merging with Paramount, considering who owns it, yeah, that would be terrible. So
Hmm.
I'm glad that the Writers Guild is actually like speaking out about like how serious this is. It's not like just Elizabeth Warren trying to like this stuff legally, which I think is also important. But I'm glad someone in the industry is like raising alarm bells about like listen, let it go somewhere else, but don't give it to Paramount. I think that because I feel like the merger is like for someone is inevitable because I guess that's just what's happening now.
Yeah. Look, the merger, even the Warner Brothers Sky merger, people are already saying was a bad idea
Yeah.
because Warner Brothers already has stuff in production. Excuse me, they had some production. They're already planning to do HBO Max, all that stuff. And the issue with David Zaslav has because he was the CEO of Discovery, and somehow he was able to remain in power. The original CEO, Warner Brothers, left. Warner Brothers operated on a shoestring budget. They didn't produce much, you know, but they were operating very well on a shoestring budget because Warner Discovery was just nature documentaries, and that was their thing. And so now merging, and now we have 20 different networks. We have movie studios. We have CNN. We have Turner. We have all this stuff, you know, and realizing, okay, not fully realizing with that level of production, there's going to be some hits and some misses. But all in all, you're still Warner Brothers, even with when they were making misses, was still competitive. They're doing very well, but Warner Discovery didn't want to function in that capacity. So they shelved like a lot of projects and stuff like that, which I do think shelving a lot of the projects was probably to their detriment because from what we know so far, there are plenty of good projects that were shelved for no reason. That would like it cost them more to shelve it than to release it. At least if you release it and it breaks even, that's not a loss. But just to shelve it, it means you've paid out everything. You don't get nothing in return. So yeah. Yeah, Warner Brothers, like we sang their praises the other day for not accepting Paramount's offer, and they just go back and do some stupid shit. Like,
Oh, what are they doing now?
no, I'm just saying the fact that they're like, remember they turned down Paramount's offer,
Yeah.
saying they weren't for sale, but now they're like, oh yeah, we're actually for sale. Like,
Oh, okay. So I thought that it was like inevitable, like they were just gonna merge with someone. I didn't
yeah.
know that it was
Well,
specifically about the Paramount merger. I
here's the
don't know.
thing. Here's the thing though, because the only other people who would take up the merger idea would probably be MGM, Amazon. They're gonna say no because one of the big hitting points for Warner Brothers Discovery is they lost the NBA contract, which Warner Brothers, which Amazon has, and which shows on Prime and which shows on terrestrial channels. They also Sony also said they're not interested in it either, and you don't want to sell to Paramount, so who are you going to go to? You know,
Mhm. Don't know.
so. just might as well bite the bullet. And Fox doesn't have the money to do it either because Fox had multiple lawsuits, and Fox also sold everything but their new stuff to Disney. So who are you selling to? So yeah. Um. So continuing on that topic, IMAX just had its best quarter ever. I know people don't really care, but I kind of care about it in a way. They dropped their third quarter earnings yesterday, and the premiere theater thing, and I'll even call them a theater chain. They're like featured in other theaters. So,
Yeah.
um, but their movies that feature in IMAX do well, while everybody else kind of struggles. So moviegoers over the past year or so, or third quarter, has spent 368 million on IMAX tickets globally. And IMAX cuts of those sales, like I said, they're just featured in theaters. Their cut is about 106.7 million. So local movies in local languages, as far as international pictures, they're up 343 million. Of course, anime and people who love those kind of projects are packing IMAX theaters. Of course, I mentioned Chainsaw Man, K-pop Demon Hunters, Demon Slayer, Fitting the Castle. Of course, F1 was IMAX highest grossing Hollywood release of this year so far at almost 1 million globally. And of course, IMAX now is teaming up with a lot of streamers like Netflix, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime to turn some streaming content into theatrical releases. And of course, the biggest one coming up would be Greta Gerwig's Narnia, which is getting a 4 weeks IMAX run Thanksgiving next year. I'm impressed by how IMAX has taken over the cinematic landscape because I remember as a kid when, hey, we're going to go to the IMAX theater, like they were just adjacent to like science museums and shit like that, and you just see like planetarium style stuff. But now it's like, and it was like tiered seating, almost kind of like the little spear thing in Hollywood, not Hollywood, in Las Vegas. But now they're like legitimate, like, oh, cinema people want the IMAX experience, to watch movies, which I think is an incredible and well thought out marketing shift. Instead of just remaining on the science like museum tip, it's your school, middle school, elementary school field trip. Like, oh, we're gonna put IMAX theaters in major chains, and Hollywood's gonna pivot that way, and people have eaten it up so far.
Yeah, it's just interesting because it's like I remember like Chris Nolan was like one of the only people who were it's actually filming for an IMAX like screening. Like he was using IMAX cameras and stuff. And now so many people are doing it.
Hmm.
And those ticket prices are ridiculous. But I think for me, what I like about it is that like there are certain movies that you look forward to go see in
Yeah.
IMAX. So it makes
Mm,
it like special
yeah.
when you see certain movies that way.
Mm,
Um, but it's interesting because like I remember not that many people were even filming for IMAX and now so many people are. So it's
yeah.
like it's cool. It's cool to see how it's, you know,
And
grown.
I think some directors are now learning how certain projects work. Like you said, Nolan was one of the few directors who was doing it for a long time, and
Mhm.
his style he's developed works for IMAX. A lot of directors at the time were shooting standard and up converting for IMAX, and it didn't work. And some directors are still in the midst of finding out and figure out how to shoot for IMAX.
Yeah.
So even at the price point, there are times I got to go, is this movie worth an IMAX? Who's the
Yeah.
director? Who has he done in IMAX before? And I go, nah, I'm fine. But like I said, Chris Nolan, if Chris Nolan has a movie come out, oh, I'm paying the 25 for that
Yeah.
IMAX that IMAX ticket. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what we've been watching this week.
I haven't watched much this week. Um, just kind of like, it's been raining, it's been cold, just been cuddling up inside the house. My Dolphins like dominated the Falcons for the day. Basketball season started. Heat cooked the Grizzlies. So I'm like full sports mode for like the next couple days with everything, NASCAR wrapping up, F1 wrapping up soon. So I'm just chilling. I'm absorbing other content outside of um uh movie or TV. The only thing I only thing I can remember watching off the top of my head is like currently with a group of friends watching Black Clover, which is an anime I've never seen. So engrossed in that at the moment. But yeah, kind of really haven't been going into the movie or TV well for right now. Just been like on a massive like basketball season back, so and the baseball playoffs. So yeah, I'm deep in my sports well for right now. It's falls for sports.
I watched season 2 of Nobody Wants This with Kristen Bell and Adam Brody.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch the first season. I watched other people watch it. And I was like, okay, I guess this seems good enough to watch the second season.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fine. It was like cute. It was kind of cringy in some places. But overall, it was funny. And like in half an hour just to like not think about anything else. Like it was pretty chill.
Yeah.
Which is great. Sometimes you just need that show. But yeah, I don't know if I would recommend. I guess so. I guess if you're like into it, into those kind of shows, then go for it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was watchable, and I laughed at certain portions. There's too many white people in it, though. That's there's there's hardly any people of color in that show.
Yeah.
So watch at your own risk. I'm also like rewatching Gossip Girl and loving it. It's insane. It's ridiculous. Nothing makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hyper realism. So in like, what do you even mean? It's like really good soap opera. Like soap opera with like good budget.
Good budget.
That's what it is. And that's been my comfort show. Like, oh, who doesn't want like an autumn in Manhattan? That sounds so great. So,
does it though?
Yeah, walking to Central Park, the leaves getting a little
Probably right. You're probably right.
closing up to no one.
No, you gotta do the.
There's no one.
And autumn in like Rhode Island or like Maine,
I did do that. And it was awesome. Let me just tell you. Like, actually, I didn't do Maine in the autumn, but like, me and my friend did a Christian Girl autumn a few years back. We're in Connecticut, It was really cute. We went apple picking. And then I let the apples rot because I didn't know what to do with them after I brought them home.
Cider, girl. Come on now.
Oh. That's probably a good idea.
Or bake them, make an apple pie. Are you gonna go for the cozy cottage aesthetic and have no idea what to do with said aesthetic? Oh my god!
I could have bought an apple pie. I would have done that.
Yeah.
Anyways, we have been talking for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Let's wrap it up. So thanks so much for listening, you guys. Make sure to check out all of our social media. Follow us and support us if you can. And we hope that you're all doing well. We hope that you're having a fun Halloween and stay safe. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Au revoir.